and talk station.
If the flu's got you down, the Warner Hospital and Health Services walk-in clinic can help you feel better fast. CEO Paul Skowron inviting you to make us your backup plan to better health. Find out more by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
From the Heart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. New leadership of WHOW and the Heart Media Group is looking forward to building and growing in 2026. Owner of the Heart Media Group, WHOW, WEZC, and DeWittDailyNews.com, Matt Hart, explains that it all comes back to the company's tagline, connecting people. He wants to continue providing the compelling local content that people have come to know while meeting audiences where they are in the current day.
Yeah, so our vision, again, it all comes back to that tagline, connecting people, right? So, but it's 2025, and we're constantly asking ourselves, where are people? How do people connect? And we want to make sure that we're there to connect with them. Where are people getting their news? How do we cover that news and get that to them? We're doing that on our AM and FM radio waves, but we're also doing it with our website. We're doing it with DeWitt Daily News. We're doing it with our social presence on our social media platforms. So, and we know there are more changes to that coming that as well. So we're ready to navigate that, but video we knew would be a big piece of that. And so, and that's why folks have probably seen a lot more video content coming out of WHOW and DeWitt Daily News. And that's why we also added things like IL Sports Wire. We know how important local sports are to communities, especially communities like Clinton and Monticello and Central Illinois. And so that's why we created a whole new product, really kind of wrote the rule book on IL Sports Wire. And but it's been very, very well received. We're completely blown away. We actually just looked yesterday. We're getting, believe it or not, 2 million views a month from this new platform that's 10 weeks old. So people want to tell those stories. They want to share those stories, and we will continue to provide platforms for those people to connect. At the end of the day, we're going to cover your local news. We're going to be dedicated to agriculture. Ag is such a huge part of our industry. So we're obviously, if you're tuning in the radio, you know that. You're going to see that in our news, but then you're also going to see that local sports coverage as well as the local news coverage as well. We'll connect with people wherever they are.
Video content has been a big focus for the company's new direction. Hart's goal is to go where the audience is rather than bringing the audience to them.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're navigating, because there's obviously video is very important, right? And it's this, it's this what we call the second screen, right? It's the phone, because now we don't watch television one screen at a time. We're constantly watching two screens. You're watching, you might be watching the University of Illinois football game on Saturday on your big screen, but you got your phone there. And when a commercial comes on or a timeout comes on, or just your phone buzzes, you're watching that second screen. And we want to make sure that we're positioned to be on the second screen, whether it's social media, whether it's DeWittDailyNews.com or other platforms, or platforms that we don't know yet. We want to be there. And just like you mentioned, TikTok, TikTok is the fastest growing platform out there. We have to make sure we're out there to connect with people where they are. Because as long as we can keep telling those stories, whether it's on the radio, whether it's on video, whether it's on DeWittDailyNews.com, or whether it's on our social platforms, we will always be committed to telling those local stories.
Hart recognizes the importance of ag radio in Central Illinois. He wants to continue supporting WHOW's reputation as Central Illinois' ag station, and reiterates that it's about telling the stories of local producers.
It's been a challenging year in ag, right? But we're here to continue to tell those stories of what's going on out there. And that's why we do things like the combine reports. And I know you're going to be, in December, you're going to be covering the statewide meeting for the Farm Bureau. And again, it's just telling those stories and keep people connected. Agriculture is a huge part of our economy. It's a huge part of our livelihoods, especially in areas like this. And so we want to be there to tell those stories. And again, as we have, as the platforms change, and now we have younger people who come in, and I'll give you an example. I had one person tell me, they said, my dad listens to the AM station, or my grandpa listens to the AM station, my dad's listening to the FM station, and I'm watching our stuff on social media. So those are 3 generations of ag. We need to be there for each one of those generations.
Right.
And again, and so we're committed to that. We'll tell those stories. We'll keep people informed. We'll give them their local news, give them their local sports, no matter what the platform is.
Keep up with all the latest local news, sports, police blotter, obituaries, and more from your computer or mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com, and check out WHOW on your preferred social media platforms. At last month's DeWitt County Board meeting, calls from DeWitt County Township highway officials were made for better communication in light of having motor fuel tax dollars frozen earlier this fall. DeWitt County Board Chair Joe Whitty is not opposed to more communication with those officials in the various townships, but reminds much of the discussion regarding motor fuel tax dollars takes place in committee meetings throughout the year.
We did receive a list of some questions that they would like answers to. It was Mr. Cyrillic and Ms. Gaff had some questions that they sent in advance. Mr. Mathon did address a lot of those last night. Some of the things are some of their requests, some of the proposals that they had made just to make easier for them in the future. It's just not allowed by statute, but other suggestions that they had, as far as the ability to have periodic meetings and things like that, get updates. Those are things that, Mr. Mathon and the Road and Bridge Committee are certainly able to address. And, we've got, committee meetings that, that they have every month. So, we want to be transparent and allow that dialogue when there's questions to take place. Some things that we can do, other things that by statute we're not allowed to. So, it's good dialogue last night, and it's just an effort. This is kind of the follow-up to everything that happened over the last year, just to make sure that going forward we have good communication.
A concern brought up at last week's county board meeting was the short-staffed nature of the county highway department's office, particularly on the engineering side. Whitty indicates that while the search continues for an assistant engineer, they have brought in a firm to help with the workload when needed.
As far as the assistant engineer, I think we have budgeted for that for a couple of years now, and it was in the requested budget, or at least the initial proposed budget. But, one of the adjustments that we made is, what helped us get out of the situation is we approved some contract engineer work. And so rather than, hoping that we can land an assistant engineer as an employee, we just budgeted that money in the contractual services line item, so that as needed, Mr. Mathon can engage services, and so that's one of those lessons learned is we can't think that we're going to get an assistant engineer to help out there, and just we've got to have the ability when things get a little bit more busy there to allow the engineer to pull in the help that he needs. Kind of move that item from the assistant engineer line item to the contractual services, and we'll hopefully have what we need there then to when we get busy, we got projects, Mr. Mathon can engage those engineer services. And
Whitty hears the calls for transparency and for something to be done so this doesn't happen again. However, he feels there are easier methods to keep track of what is happening at the county government level, though through the revamped county website and simply attending county board, road, and bridge committee meetings.
One thing that I would recommend to anybody who is wanting to know what's going on in the county government, as I said, we improved the county website, been about a year now. My understanding, I haven't taken advantage of it myself, but I think you can sign up online to be notified when there's new meeting events posted on the calendar. So I talk about transparency. We absolutely support that. We want citizens engaged. a lot of the county business is discussed in detail in the committee meetings. So if you're interested in what's going on, from the road and bridge standpoint or public safety or land use, go out to the website, sign up, you'll be alerted. And, we post our agendas, 48 hours or more in advance. So you can kind of see what's on docket for, being discussed. That's where I would suggest, if you've got an area of interest that you're trying to keep up on, at least sign up, be notified, and then you can check the agendas when those get posted and attend if there's something that you want to share with the board. When we meet at the end of the month, the full county board meeting, what we're doing is taking all of the recommendations, the motions from those committee discussions that are more detailed, and we're taking action on those items that need, full board attention. There's some things that the committees themselves can handle, and they don't have to go to the full board. Don't miss out the opportunity to address the smaller committees where a lot of that business is discussed in detail, and let your voices be heard there. That's one thing that I just think the county website and I think that notification process is a great way to make sure that people are informed as to what's being discussed.
Whitty reminds that the MFT dollars for DeWitt County have in the last month been released, and the work those dollars are intended to be used for is underway. Additionally, the Washington Street Bridge, which has been out of commission for a couple of years now, is moving towards being repaired. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsors.
Experience the power of better connection with Connexus Fiber Internet. Connexus delivers ultra-fast, reliable speeds to keep you connected at the speed of life. Whether you're working from home, streaming your favorite shows, or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to fiber fast internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
Closeout time is here for a new Chevrolet. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. Yes, we have a good selection of 25 Silverados remaining in regular and crew cab models with gas or diesel engines. Some with utility beds and dual roof wheels. Also see our remaining Colorados, Trailblazers, even our full-size Suburban and Tahoes, all priced to move out. See our 25 inventory today at BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
News time is 24 minutes after the top of the hour. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Life happens, and when it comes to how those changes impact your finances, Social Security is reminding there are a number of changes that impact your earnings towards Social Security. Jack Myers indicates that if you receive Social Security, you can help make sure they pay you the right benefit each month. You can do that by reporting relationship or other life changes that could affect your eligibility for retirement, survivors, or disability benefits.
If you have changes, as you get Social Security, things can change in your life. And so it is important that you communicate certain types of changes with us to make sure that we pay you the right benefit each month. Depending on what you get, there are different things you need to report. So, for example, relationship or other life changes could potentially affect your eligibility for retirement benefits, survivors benefits, or disability benefits. You or your family may miss out on additional payments that you might be due if you don't report changes to us in a timely manner. So, not letting us know about certain things could cost you money. But then likewise, there are certain situations where you may be overpaid if you don't tell us about certain things. So, it's important on both ends. You don't want to be missing out on benefits, and you also don't want to be overpaid.
Among the types of relationship changes that you need to report, Meyer says those include a marriage or divorce, death of a spouse or former spouse, becoming a parent of a child, including adoption, of course, and a marriage of a child who gets benefits on your record.
Some examples of relationship type changes that you should report to Social Security are marriage or divorce, death of a spouse or a former spouse, becoming parent of a child, including adoption, of course, marriage of a child who gets benefits on your record as a minor or disabled child. And then if a child who gets benefits on your record no longer lives with you, we're going to want to know where they went and how to contact the adult or organization who's caring for them now. So all of those things have different impacts depending on the type of benefits. But an example of a way that you could be losing out on benefits, for example, Seth, is, let's say you were married to somebody for more than 10 years and subsequently divorced. Now you signed up for retirement benefits and you're collecting your own retirement. While that ex-spouse was alive, maybe you didn't qualify for anything on their record because a spousal benefit or an ex-spousal benefit is only 50% of theirs. But if they pass away, you become eligible potentially for a surviving divorced spouse's benefit, and that can be up to 100%. So that's a different calculation and very likely could mean you're eligible for more money. But if you don't tell us about that and inquire about it, we're not going to know to pay you that automatically. So that's a real good example of where you'd want to reach out to Social Security and let us know that that ex-spouse passed away so that we can see if you're due any additional money.
Currently, there are 21 states where we can verify marriage certificates and don't need to see yours. Myers notes nearby states such as Iowa, Missouri, Michigan, and Wisconsin are on the list, but Illinois is not yet.
For marriage certificates, that would be where, let's say, for example, you got married recently and you want to change your name through Social Security. That's the purpose that we would have to verify a marriage certificate, because there's a name change there. If you've gotten married and you've chosen to change your name, then you need to get in touch with us at Social Security so that we can update the name on your record. In some cases, and like you mentioned, 21 states, we can automatically verify that marriage certificate information and don't need to see yours. Now, that's not going to come into play with things like the survivor benefits that I talked about, because that's a different process, a different purpose. So don't think that we can automatically get notified for everything. But if you go through and start the process of applying for a name change on your Social Security card, in 21 states, we can verify. Now, Illinois isn't one of them, but if you get married in Iowa, Missouri, Michigan, Wisconsin, those are some of our neighboring states that are on the list of states where we can verify marriage certificates for the purposes of name change.
Other, more standard changes such as address, direct deposit, or phone number should be reported as well. But those types of things won't affect your eligibility for benefits. They are more like updates and can be submitted via your My Social Security account, over the telephone, or in office with an appointment. To report these changes, call Social Security at 1-800-772-1213, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call your local Social Security office, and you can find it at ssa.gov/locator, or fax, mail, or deliver your updates to your local office. Get news anytime from your computer or your mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. It is a delayed homecoming for some Thanksgiving travelers. Their plans disrupted by a snowstorm. It caused flight delays and cancellations parts of the Midwest, including in Chicago. Now the Northeast is getting ready for what could be its first significant snowfall of this season. Secretary of State Rubio says weekend talks on Ukraine, which included President Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and top Ukrainian officials, were productive, but there's more work to be done before the bloodshed ends after almost 4 years of war in Ukraine. Police are appealing for witnesses of a deadly weekend shooting at a child's birthday party in Stockton, California, to come forward.
From the Heart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. Connor Bedard scored the tie-breaking goal at 9 minutes and 55 seconds of the third period, added an empty net score, and had 2 assists as the Chicago Blackhawks rallied from an early 3-goal deficit to top the Anaheim Ducks 5-3 on Sunday and snap a 5-game slide. Tyler Bertuzzi, Ryan Green, and Colton Dock also scored as Chicago tied it 3 by 12:34 of the second. Chicago converted 2 of 4 power play chances and killed all 3 Anaheim advantages. Bedard beat Villa Husso with a nifty move from the front of the crease to put Chicago ahead 4-3 following a turnover from Alex Killorn. Husso had entered the game 44 seconds earlier after starter Peter Mrazek exited with an undisclosed injury. Bedard fired into an empty net with 1:55 remaining to seal it. Spencer Knight rebounded from a shaky start to finish with 23 saves. Cutter Gauthier had a goal and an assist as the Ducks jumped out to a 3-0 lead midway through the first period. Chris Kreider scored for the second straight game to give him 600 career points. Olin Zellweger also scored, and Troy Terry set up 2 goals to extend his point streak to 7 games. Mrazek made stops of 13 of 16 of shots before exiting his first start against the Blackhawks since they traded him to Detroit in March. Anaheim's number 1 goalie, Lucas Dostal, missed his 3rd game with an upper body injury. Gauthier and Zellweger beat Knight on 2 of Anaheim's first 3 shots, giving the Ducks a 2-0 lead 47 seconds in. Kreider's off the skate deflection upped it to a 3-0 lead at 10 minutes and 25 seconds. Bertuzzi cut it to 3-1 with 2 minutes and 3 seconds left in the first, deflecting in a power play score. Green made it 3-2 at 6:43 of the second, finishing on a 2-on-1 break with Bedard. Dock tied it 3-all during a power play at 12:34 of the second. The Ducks visit St. Louis tonight. Blackhawks will start a 4-game trip at Vegas on Tuesday. Miles Scott had 2 interceptions in the final 5 minutes Saturday night to lock down the Illinois Fighting Illini's 20-13 victory over the Northwestern Wildcats. Ahead 14-10 at halftime on the snowy night, the Illini scored only 6 points in the second half off a pair of field goals by David Alano, but that was enough to defeat the Wildcats. Luke Altmaier, one of the nation's top quarterbacks, was 10 of 15 passing for 136 yards in his final regular season home game for Illinois. Khalil Valentine rushed 14 times for 74 yards and a touchdown. Preston Stone was 19 of 36 for 163 yards passing and a touchdown for Northwestern, but threw 3 interceptions. The Wildcats also lost a fumble. Hayden Elegon II had 8 catches for 99 yards for Northwestern, and fourth-string running back Robbie Preckle ran for 82 yards on 22 carries. Wildcats coach David Braun said he's pleased with his team's progress after a 4-8 season last year, but there's a lot of work to do. The first November night game in the 101-year history of Geese Memorial Stadium also was the first snow game there since 1993. The field was covered with snow during the first half with the wind howled all night. Fans sat only on the west side of the stadium because of the day-long 8-inch snowfall. Illinois and Northwestern played for the Land of Lincoln Trophy, dubbed the Hat for the 17th time. Northwestern leads the series 10-7, but Dilemma is 4-1. Both Northwestern and Illinois are now awaiting a bowl invitation. Dylan Holloway scored. Joel Hofer stopped 17 shots for his second shutout of the season, and the St. Louis Blues beat the Utah Mammoth 1-0 on Saturday night in the second half of back-to-back games for both teams. Hofer has 4 career shutouts, also blanking the Sabres in Buffalo on November 6th. The Mammoth have a 7-game road losing streak and dropped the first 2 games of a 6-game trip. Since starting the season 8-2-0, Utah has sputtered to a 4-9-3 mark. Utah's Logan Cooley was helped off the ice at 6 minutes and 17 seconds of the third period. Alexei Tropachenko and the 21-year-old Cooley collided knee-to-knee just outside the blue line. Tropachenko was given a 5-minute major penalty and a game misconduct for kneeing. Cooley, who is in his third NHL season, has 14 goals through 26 games. He had the NHL's first 4-goal game of the season Tuesday night against Vegas. Karol Vejmelka stopped 18 shots. Holloway scored with 1:50 left in the second period for a 1-0 lead. Philip Broberg dropped a pass back to Holloway in the left circle, and he beat Vejmelka with a wrist shot to the top right corner. The Mammoth are at San Jose on Monday night. The Blues host the Ducks tonight. Pascal Siakam sank a 14-foot jumper with a second left to give the Indiana Pacers a 103-101 victory over the Chicago Bulls on Saturday night. Siakam led the Pacers with 24 points and 9 rebounds, while Benedict Mathurin scored 19. Isaiah Jackson had 14 points and 11 rebounds off the bench. Josh Giddey finished with 17 points and 11 rebounds for the Bulls. Trey Jones also scored 17, and Nikola Vucevic added 16 points and 8 boards. Chicago started the final quarter with a 15-2 spurt to take a 95-88 lead with just under 5.5 minutes left. Trailing 97-90, the Pacers went on an 8-0 run to grab the lead when TJ McConnell hit a pull-up jumper with 2 minutes and 19 seconds remaining. After the Bulls briefly regained the lead at 99-98 on 2 free throws by Vucevic, the Pacers were helped when a goaltending call on Jay Huff was overturned. After a basket by Siakam, Andrew Nembhard hit one of 2 free throws to give Indiana a 101-99 advantage with 10.7 seconds left. Jones scored on a drive to tie it at 101 all with 7.5 seconds to go when the Pacers were called for goaltending. Indiana shot 49% in the first half and took a 61-54 halftime lead. After the Bulls scored in the first 7 points of the third quarter to tie it, the Pacers regained an 86-80 lead heading into the fourth. Huff scored Indiana's first 14 points, hitting all 5 shots to give the Pacers a 14-9 lead. He didn't score again, but finished with 8 rebounds and 4 blocks. Nembhard, who had 14 points, returned after missing Friday night's game against Washington with a bruised right quad. The Bulls were without Kobe White, averaging 24.2 points in 5 games this season because of a right calf strain. Chicago coach Billy Donovan said this was the last time White will have management limitations in a back-to-back situation. The Bulls play Orlando tonight, and the Pacers host the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. Kyle Monangai rushed for 130 yards and a touchdown. DeAndre Swift ran for 125 yards and a score. And Chicago finished with 281 yards on the ground to its 5th straight game, 24-15 over reeling Philadelphia on Friday. Led by Johnson, the Bears are alone in first place in the NFC North heading into a December 7th showdown at Green Bay. The Bears had 2 players top 100 yards rushing in a game for the first time since Walter Payton had 107 yards and Matt Suhey had 102 on November 10th, 1985 against Detroit. The Eagles seemingly had the NFC East wrapped up 2 weeks ago, only to suffer consecutive defeats that have them looking little like a Super Bowl contender. Perhaps still feeling the sting of turning a 21-0 lead at Dallas on Sunday into a 24-21 loss, the Eagles' offense showed few signs of snapping out of its funk. Fed-up Philly fans spent the game booing and calling for the team to fire the offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo. Not this week, Eagles coach Nick Sirianni said after the loss he was sticking with Patullo. Philadelphia's season has taken such a turn that even the beloved tush-push doomed the Eagles in this one. With Philly trailing 10-9 late in the third quarter, Jalen Hurts fumbled on the usually reliable play deep in Chicago territory, and the Bears recovered. The Bears, who have a knack for winning one-score games, turned the turnover into the drive of the day. Monangai ripped off a 31-yard run on the first play, and Caleb Williams, who was 17 for 36 for 154 yards and a touchdown, completed a 7-yard pass to Colston Loveland on 4th down that extended the drive. Monangai ran for a 4-yard touchdown that made it 17-9 early in the fourth, and Williams added the insurance score with a 28-yard touchdown pass to Cole Kmet for a 24-9 lead. Hurts threw for 230 yards and a pair of touchdowns to disgruntled receiver A.J. Brown, who had 10 catches for 132 yards. Saquon Barkley couldn't break free against one of the worst run defenses in the NFL and finished with 56 yards rushing. The Eagles ran just 17 plays and had 2 first downs with 83 total yards and 26 rushing in the first half. The Bears totaled 142 yards rushing in the half. Swift, who became the first running back to top 100 yards rushing against the Eagles this season, scored against his former team on a 3-yard run and make it a 7-0 lead. The Bears led 10-3 when Hurts hit Brown in the third quarter for a 33-yard touchdown that made it 10-9. Jake Elliott missed the extra point, adding to the list of ugly plays that sunk the Super Bowl champs. Hurts and Brown connected on a late 4-yard touchdown in the fourth, but the Eagles missed the 2-point conversion attempt to keep it a 2-score game. The Bears play at NFC North rival Green Bay on December 7th with the division lead on the line. The Eagles visit Los Angeles and the Chargers on Monday, December 8th. Get sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. A winter weather advisory begins at noon today and continues